Welcome to Wildlife Rehabilitation from Rescue to Release, a podcast dedicated to licensed wildlife rehabilitators and the veterinarians who support them. I'm your host, Gail Buell. Today, I get to talk to Dianne Odegard and Mackenzie. They are the founders of the Austin Bat Refuge in Austin, Texas. My husband and I got to visit last summer. We were on vacation, and this will tell you a lot about me, is that I wanted to go see Mexican free-tailed bats emerging from Bracken Cave out of San Antonio and also from underneath the bridges in Austin, Texas. And I made my husband withstand 100+ degree temperatures so I could see these things. This has been on my bucket list forever. And I would recommend it to anybody. The emergence of these Mexican free-tailed bats, it's their maternal colonies, and was a life-changing experience for me. I knew it would be. I absolutely love bats, and bats are my specialty in rehab. But I really wanted to see this, and that's what's last summer. Well, I actually didn't know about Austin Bat Refuge until a friend who is a rehabilitator down in the area told me. And I'm like, well, I'd love to go visit, but I am not doing it just a day advance notice or anything like that. That's not fair. Everything. I want to be polite, that kind of thing. Well, they made the introduction for me, and Lee and Dianne were so gracious. And they're like, come on over. We want to see you. We want to meet you. We want to show you what we do. And I was blown away. I knew I wanted them on the podcast for loads of different reasons, which you will find out coming up soon. But I just wanted to let you know that these podcast episodes are based out of our visit last summer. And again, my gratitude to them, Dianne and Lee, knows no bounds, which I have found with the vast majority of wildlife rehabilitators, right? We all know that. This was an amazing visit, and I knew that I wanted to share them with all of you. Well, Dianne and Lee, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. I am so excited to have you. And today we're going to talk about bats. And I would love to hear the origin story of the two of you getting involved in bat rehabilitation.
Lee always answers that question by saying it's her fault. And I guess it is. I guess to go back to the 90s, I was rehabbing raccoons and squirrels and opossums in my spare time, and I was doing that when I met Lee in the mid 90s, and Lee got involved with that. He really enjoyed it, and he can tell you about why he enjoyed it as a real relief from the construction work that he'd been doing his whole career. And so he enjoyed that. And at that time, I happened to meet a woman named Barbara, who was the only bat rehabilitator in Austin for, I don't know, 15 or 20 years up till then. And Lee and I both got really interested in bats, and we spent some time with Barbara at her home, learning a little bit about bat rehab and the different species. And then after we got back from Minnesota in 2004 and 5, I got a job at Bat Conservation International, working for Merlin Tuttle. And Barbara was a biologist at BCI. So we got to see each other every day, and we got to kind of learn more about bat rehab and help Barbara. She was kind of our mentor for bat rehabilitation. So that's how it started. And I continued working for BCI for 13 years and left in 2017. And since then, it's been a full-time job for me. I was able to do that mainly because I'm old enough to get Medicare and Social Security at that point. I turned 65 the year I left BCI. And so I was able to take advantage of our government programs and make a small living. So that's kind of the outline of how it happened. Lee, do you want to add?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I felt real lucky when I met Diane too. I said, oh, this is I've been living in the construction world. We never made much
Mhm.
money as carpenters, so we had to work almost every day of the week. So it was
Oh,
not unusual just to work on all weekends on doing extra projects to try to
sure.
bring a little extra cash in. But yeah, after a while, I always knew there was something missing, spending
Hmm.
your whole life in the construction world. There's, I always knew that um, needed something else. So I took a field biology class on a weekend and at the
Just on a
local,
whim? Just like
yeah,
field
just
bio,
on a
you did
whim at the
just on a
local
whim. I
community
love it.
college. Yep.
Absolutely love it.
And I just loved it. And I met Diane right around that time.
Yeah.
And of course, I go out with my class on Saturdays and we go and explore all the really cool things around town and learn all about them. And then on Sunday, I'd let Diane sleep late and then I'd say, hey, you want to go see this really cool place I learned about yesterday? And so I could bring her out there
Mhm.
and be really knowledgeable, be Mr. Smarty Pants.
Oh, impress
Yeah,
her.
so
I
I
get
just
it. I
learned all
get it.
about it. Yeah, exactly. So I got to impress her
He
like
was good.
I could never have done normally. But
Uh-huh.
anyway, that was really a great. I realized then that that's the balance that I was needing in my life. I needed a little, bring more of the natural world into the
Sure.
constructed world that I've been
Mhm.
living in. So yeah, it felt great, and my skills dovetailed nicely with her needs. She
Mhm.
had a bunch of habitats that needed to be spruced up
Mhm.
and new ones built, and so I realized that my skill set fit really well with rehabilitation. There's always things
Wow.
that need to be built and maintained, and that was lovely. But mostly, I just really enjoyed hanging out with my new friend, and
Mm,
it was really great. We were
excellent.
the raccoon team. We would get
Yeah.
calls in the middle of the night and
Ah,
put the
yes.
little flashing lights on top of the car and go out, coon busters, and
Ah!
go drive all around
Uh-huh.
town
He's
and
kidding.
drag raccoons out of attics and
Hmm.
out of rock veneers on the side of people's houses. So
Sure.
anyway, that was super fun.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I do have a question. So Diane, there must have been, because you've
Mhm.
been doing rehab of, it sounds like you were a mammal generalist, possums and coons and all of
Yeah.
the normal suspects that come into rehabilitation, right? What got you so interested in bats? Was there one thing? Because not only did you pursue bat rehab or kind of get to know Barbara with that, you ended up getting a job with BCI.
I don't know that there was any one thing, but I think a big part of it for me was the fact that bats are feared and sometimes hated by the general public.
Hmm.
And I tend to gravitate towards the animals that have problems with the human built world. Educating people about what bats are really like was really important to me, and it's
Hmm.
what I ended up doing at BCI for most of the years that I was there was
Hmm.
education. I really, really enjoyed showing people and telling people what bats are really like and seeing
Hmm.
the change in them, especially when they
Hmm.
see a bat up close in the hand,
Right.
and watching that epiphany that
Hmm.
people often have when they see, their scary, giant, evil, vicious bat uh, idea in their
Hmm.
mind,
Right.
um, you know, gone down to this little tiny, beautiful, and adorable face,
Sure.
and showing them how fragile bats are and the need for human protection.
Right. Right.
So I think those are some of the reasons. I was really fortunate to be able to work for an organization that employed a lot of scientists, who were
Yes.
doing global work protecting
Hmm.
populations of bats.
Hmm.
That's not so much what I was drawn to, but I got to learn a lot
Oh,
from
right.
Merlin and the other scientists that work there, as well as learning about bat rehabilitation. That's not something that BCI, that wasn't part of BCI's mission.
Right.
Rehabilitation just happened to be something that Barbara was very interested in.
Hmm.
And so she was able to bring live bats to programs for BCI. And when she left
Oh,
in 2009, she moved back up north to Wisconsin in 2009.
okay.
Um, and so I stayed at BCI many years. And then also, we were the only bat rehabilitators in the area
Hmm.
since 2009, and we still are.
Hmm.
So now, when I was still at BCI, I was also able to bring live bats to my BCI programs, and that
Sure.
was appreciated.
Hmm.
Um, and so that was my opportunity to talk to the public
Right.
frequently.
Certainly in rehabilitation, we know that all of us are doing education in many different ways, right?
Oh,
Sometimes you're going to
absolutely. Whether we're
programs
actually formally going out and doing programs or not, we're doing
or
education
yeah,
every time
just in
somebody
the
brings
moment.
an animal in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Or when you do have a moment free and you go to an event or something or a dinner party or you go to, a
Yeah,
holiday party with your family and they're like, bats? And then you have a chance to educate them too. So at least that's
exactly.
especially
Yeah.
with bats in my family, that was like, bats? Why would you want to do bat?
Bats.
Well, let me tell you. Thanks for the opening. Yeah, I have lots to say about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so
There's
interesting.
part of just living in Austin though, also,
Mm,
that's
right.
known as Bat City. And
Yeah.
so there's always been we feel somebody should be, we've just felt like there should be an obligation to care for these animals that people spend so much time talking about
Hmm.
and touting their how great they are. And it's created this huge tourist economy and
Hmm.
a huge economic engine for the city. There should be somebody that actually walks the walk for these bats and not just talking about them and extolling their benefits, but actually care for them if they get in trouble with humans. Most
Hmm.
of their troubles that they get into seems to be human caused by some in one way or another. And so
Right.
we feel like it's only fair for us, or it's an obligation here in the city to level that playing field.
And as most rehabilitators know, rehabilitation isn't generally supported by county or state or anything like that, or
Right.
Right.
federal or anything. The public, especially urban public, are expecting it more and more and more. That is,
Mhm.
well, of course there should be rehabilitation. Of course, where should I bring this? And there's often a big
Mhm.
surprise. Then what do you mean you're not supported by
Right.
Yeah.
X entity? And it's like, nope, donation supported,
Right. Right.
or out
And
of our own
people have
pocket.
been very generous in donating to us. We have scores of monthly donors, regular monthly
Awesome.
donors. People are always very happy to find a place to take a bat. There are
Hmm.
quite a few states in the country that do not allow rehab of sometimes any rabies vector species, but
Correct.
sometimes just bats. And I think that's such a mistake
It is a
because
mistake. Hmm.
there is no option for people other than to try to take care of the bat themselves. There's a
Uh-huh.
much bigger chance of people being bitten. And even though the vast majority of bats, as you know, don't get rabies and they're not
Right.
carriers of the
Right.
virus, they do get it like any mammal. And so I think there would possibly be a rise in human rabies.
Well,
I don't
that's where
know if
most of
that's
the exposures do come from, is bats.
exactly right.
Um, you know,
Exactly right.
and it's because you don't
Yeah,
know if you got bit or not, and it's because, at least in Minnesota, it's because a lot of people will find a bat in their house or find a bat on the sidewalk,
right,
and try to help and
right.
pick it up, or they'll find a bat in
Yeah,
their bedroom, which for the Minnesota Department of Health, they consider that an exposure if you were sleeping. because you don't know. I would agree, and we're not going to get political here at all, but I would agree that I
Yeah.
think regulators, it would be better for them to look at why they're saying no to rabies vector species or to bats, um, in particular. And most rehabilitators, not all of them, but most rehabilitators are vaccinated for rabies, you know. And I certainly
Right.
encourage those vaccinations because it's like rabies is
Hmm.
fatal. I don't, and but I also, and I know you guys do because I was there. I saw what you did for PPE to protect not only
Hmm.
the bat but protect yourself, and that
Right.
Mhm.
is just so important, I think. So okay,
Hmm.
so you started the nonprofit Austin Bat Refuge in 2015, is that
Hmm.
right?
Mhm.
2015.
Right.
Yep.
um
Yeah.
so gosh, you've been going strong for 10 years. It's amazing. So
It's amazing to
I
think
know.
about.
I know.
How did that happen?
how did it happen? You just look back going, what, 10
Yeah.
years? So one of the things, the tagline, which may be your mission statement, because I'm gonna ask about that, but is taking science to heart. Can you
Mhm.
explain that? I love that so much.
Yeah, it's just something that we came up with. I think
It was, Diane working at BCI, that's a science-based organization,
Yep.
right.
and they don't generally they've never done any kind of rehab at all,
Mm-hmm.
and we just felt like that was a missing component.
Mm-hmm.
We just felt like that's something that
Hmm.
somebody needed to be doing that, and we did have a lot of. We brushed up with scientists all every day at when she was working
Hmm.
there, and
Mm-hmm.
we took on quite a few projects ourselves, and including the radar that we might want to talk about
Oh
later,
yeah, we'll
that
talk about
we
that.
consider
Yep.
a scientific research project that informs the rehab. So it
Mm-hmm.
actually makes us better rehabbers to do this science and see how the bats are um, how they're moving seasonally and how their populations change annually.
Hmm.
That
Mm-hmm.
all are things that inform our rehabilitation. So we feel like they should never be divided. We never thought that science and rehabilitation should be so
Exactly.
separate. And it seems like
Right.
there's a big divide
There's,
between scientists and rehabbers.
mhm.
We feel like that's a really missed opportunity for
Mm-hmm.
both both sides of the coin. So we want to bring that together. So
Okay.
Mhm.
that's really the origin of the tagline from my
Exactly.
perspective.
Yeah, the fight, if you want to call it that, between scientists and rehabilitators is getting a little bit uh, less. It's getting
Contentious.
well. It's yeah. There. I guess it depends on who you talk to, but
Sure.
the fact that I worked with a lot of scientists at BCI and that we know a lot of scientists simply
Mm-hmm.
being in the Central Texas and bat world
Mm-hmm.
gives them an opportunity to work with us when they
Mm-hmm.
want to. We help scientists do studies. We send hair samples for isotope studies
Mm-hmm.
for
Wow.
science projects.
We
We
collect guano
we collect
samples
guano
for
samples for
species from
Mm-hmm.
feces analysis.
right, right.
Um,
And so we work with scientists. We're not scientists, but we work
Mm-hmm.
with them and we appreciate them and many of them appreciate us. So
we
it's
have
that combination that works very well,
Mm-hmm.
at the best of times,
we have
when we
three
all work
we
together.
have three scientists right now that are volunteering
Yeah,
work for environmental consulting agencies
yeah.
around town, but they never get to handle bats. So
Hmm.
they just say, "Hey, can I come over and I really want to brush up on my bat handling skills?" And
Mm-hmm.
maybe it burnishes their resume a little bit too to
Mm-hmm.
help
Mm-hmm.
them get a be maybe they'd be selected to do the next project that comes along.
Right.
And so we'd love to be able to help them out in their career path, and they shine the light on a lot of things that we had never really considered either. So
Excellent.
we have another volunteer coming next week who's doing bat behavior analysis. She just got back from Alaska doing analyzing behavior of sea lions in their care at the Alaska
Yeah.
Sea Life Center.
Uh,
Oh my gosh, the
She's
connections are amazing. I love it. I
I
love it.
know.
So it's felt fun. I really look
Mm-hmm.
forward to her coming on Sunday and
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
just she has her ethographs, I guess she calls them. I don't even know the proper name for it, but it's
Right.
just a chart to scientifically describe their behavior, and
Hmm.
she wants to apply it to bats. So
So,
we're happy to provide that opportunity and see
so
what we can learn from her. I'm sure we'll learn
exactly.
Right.
a ton from her.
So she'll get to learn and we'll get to learn, which is
Yes.
ideal.
Yeah.
Wow. Let's keep going down kind of the organization. So we've got the tagline, which I love. What is your mission statement?
We should have brushed up on
We
that.
should have brushed up on it. Our mission statement
Or at
is
least in general, right? Because you have
It's,
four main objectives, at least listed on
yes.
your website, right?
Oh,
yeah, well, I think I know it. I think I can probably rattle it off.
I think you can
It's
rattle
to
it off.
promote respect for
There.
bats and their place in the environment through
Mhm.
education, conflict resolution,
And rehabilitation.
rehabilitation, and release.
And
That's
release,
it.
yeah.
That's exactly it.
There we
Yeah,
go.
so it's really
Awesome. Awesome.
yeah, I would say it's a three-part thing because
It is a, yeah,
rehabilitation and release is really
Mhm.
one
is
of
one
the
thing.
three
Oh, right. Right.
pillars of
Right,
our mission.
Right.
right. And the
So
conflict resolution part is also very important for us and for hopefully for the people that we are able to help mitigate some
Mhm.
bat-human conflict for.
So conflict resolution, what does that look like in your world?
Sometimes it's simply someone calling us and saying, we think we have bats roosting in our chimney or
Mhm.
in our attic or behind shingles on our roof, et cetera. One of the many uh, places on human structures that bats have come to use as their
Uh-huh.
own habitat is
Mhm.
disappearing. Um, what we want to find out immediately is, are there any bats in human living or working spaces?
Okay.
And if there aren't, what is the possibility for tolerating them for the time being, since bats are
Mhm.
very rarely in the same roost for long periods of time. They're
Right.
probably going to move on. That's the simple problems that
Mhm.
we're able to help mitigate. From there on, it can get a little more complicated. Do you want to talk about the Walmart situation?
Sure. I guess we could just talk about the most recent
Yeah.
incident. Someone called one of the cashiers at a Walmart decided that or had heard from her coworker that there were bats trapped in the outside of the wall. She went out and took a look, and she could see that at the bottom of this 50-foot tall wall, there was a little slot with about 40 bats packed in the bottom of it.
Okay.
They had slid down from the top of the roof 50 feet up, and they got stuck in this little channel that was
Okay.
meant to hold the siding away from the wall and create a rain wall. There was a little
Okay.
Z channel that they screwed to
Mhm.
the sheathing, and then the outside of the Z channel was where the wall was screwed onto. Well, they had gotten behind there, and it made a perfect home. Bats love to
Right.
live in little 1-inch crevices behind
Mhm.
either rock veneer siding, or in this case, it was just wall paneling.
Sure.
And the
That-
reason she knew there were bats in there was she could hear them and she could smell them, but also there were wings and feet sticking out from that little crack
Okay.
where the bats were trying to get out.
Okay.
And of course couldn't. It was much too tight.
And they
Okay.
couldn't climb up that slick channel. There were two of
Okay.
these Z channels put together. And whereas they can climb on in between those Z channels that are like every 16 inches, there was this little 4-inch gap where the two Z channels came together. They just slid right down to the bottom. And it's been
Wow.
happening for a while.
Okay.
So,
Right. And this woman, this this cashier at Walmart called another bat organization.
Mhm.
This was in College Station where Texas A&M University is, and they're
Sure.
north of here.
Okay.
And she called a bat organization up in North Texas. And someone from Bat World called us since we're
Oh,
closer
look
to
closer.
this
Mhm.
place. And that's how we learned about it. And
yeah, so we were able to talk to the manager and arrange for the manager to get their maintenance people out there. We can't just go and take apart a
Right.
wall of a commercial establishment
Yeah.
causing a little bit of ruckus. So we were able to get them to get one of their technicians out there. We could see how the wall was put together, that it was screwed to this Z channel
Mm-hmm.
and then been covered over with caulk and paint. So we knew that they could remove the screws, and sure enough, he did. And when he pulled the wall panel off, bats just went everywhere, and we were down on the ground collecting, grabbing them before they scurried off into the gutter.
Sure, sure.
And we collected about 30 bats, I guess, and
30
10 of
living
them,
living
10 were
bats.
10 had already been killed from the weight of the other bats falling on top of them.
Right. Oh.
But we were able to get 30 out.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
think a few others might have flown away.
Yeah, a couple
Sure.
were beyond our grasp as they
Oh,
fluttered
sure.
away, but we got most
We
of
don't
them.
want bats to fly away during the day. That
Yeah.
they're
Right.
targets of predation. If they fly during the day, grackles
Mhm.
are going to get them before they can find their way back to a suitable roost. So
Hopefully they just went back in on top
yeah.
and avoided falling down this
So
time.
we took as many as we could capture, which was a good, I think only a few got away. But the other 30 we took back to the refuge. So it's a 2-hour drive there and a 2-hour drive back. So it was a full day.
Right.
But we could see the bats have been in there for a long time. The
Mhm.
guano was packed in the walls. The walls weren't performing as they're supposed to. This is a rain wall. It's supposed to allow a little bit of
Okay.
rain in and drain down through and then go out this little screen at the bottom. And the
Okay.
screen was packed with guano, as were whole huge sections of the wall, probably, 8 foot by, I don't know, it's at least 8
Wow.
square feet, and each little wall panel were filled with guanos.
Did
Yeah,
they,
So
so you were actually giving the Walmart service too, because that, like you said, that wasn't performing the way it was supposed to anyway. Did you
right.
get a lot of pushback from them before they said,
we were real pleased that they had called their service guys right away when
We
they
were
heard of the problem.
we were surprised and very pleased.
oh,
Were
excellent.
very responsive. We called and spoke to the manager, whose number we had gotten from the cashier,
Sure,
and we were expecting pushback. Instead, he
sure.
said, "How soon can you get here to
Gosh.
meet our our subcontractor?" So, yeah, we were very pleased. It happened quickly. And we were able to save most of the bats. So
Yeah, so
Yay.
that
kudos
was
to Walmart.
yeah,
Yeah.
we were real grateful that they did
Mhm.
that. But we realized that there was an ongoing issue, that bats are still
Right.
going to continue to live up there,
Mm,
this area where they're flying in 50 feet above the ground, and that they were going to continue to fall down that crevice. There's we couldn't just walk away and leave that problem
right.
existing,
Mm-hmm.
because we don't want to drive to College Station every weekend in the next couple.
As great as it might be. Yes, you gotta, that's what you
Yeah,
Yeah.
gotta do.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So we had to do we had to contact the technician's boss. We were able to get the regional manager's uh, email,
Mm-hmm.
and we reached out to him and we said, okay, we would thanks so much for getting this guy out there. We would love to really solve the big issue, and if you'd be able to get a lift out there and give us an operator, we'd be happy to do an exclusion, just for if you can just reimburse us for gas mileage and and materials. We'll be happy to do a pro bono. We were already into the project at this point. We didn't want to leave it
Right.
unfinished.
Right.
We don't like working for free for big mega corporations, but at the
Totally
same time,
understandable. Yep.
we wanted to make it easy for them to say
Exactly.
yes. And we didn't want to
Mm-hmm.
Right.
make it easy for them to say no by, so we offered our services pro bono if they would just get us there, get us up there and pay for the materials.
Mhm.
So he said, sure. And he got a lift out there. It's a little hard to pin him down, and it wasn't inexpensive. It was about $1,000 to get the lift delivered and get it
Mm-hmm.
set up and get me up there to where we could actually do the exclusion work. But I was so pleased that they did it, and that he would, we drove out. Got up at 4 o'clock one morning, did the radar work, and then went out to College Station and met them at 8 o'clock. They were there with the lift. They drove it around, set it up, and we had them all the bat exclusion tubes installed by about noon. in plenty of time for the caulk to dry before the bats flew in the evening.
Sure.
So it was, so far it's worked out really well.
Yeah.
So now we have to still line up the getting them back there to finish the job, but I
Right.
feel good knowing that the bats have been gently asked to find a new place to live. They're not going to continue to get in trouble. We've called the cashier, contacted her a few
Oh,
times to
good.
let
Good.
us know and make sure there's not any bats stuck in the
Hmm.
crevices again. And so far, so good.
What a
So far,
wonderful story. That
Yeah,
that
it's such a good story.
yeah,
it's such a
I
good
know there
story.
was tons of bats in that wall. We could hear them when we were doing the exclusion work. They were talking, going, "What's going on? What are they
What's
trying to
going
do to
on?
us
Yeah.
now?" You
Mm.
know, and yeah, so we feel good knowing that. Uh, we Our biggest fear is that if they do, if a company does react to bats in the wall, they're just going to wait till dark and then seal up the crevice. That's a
Yeah.
real problem because many bats don't fly every evening.
Right.
If they
Exactly.
have, even on a warm, good nights and with good conditions, if they got a good
Mhm.
feed the night before, many bats are just going to take the night off. They're not going to go out and waste the energy if
Right.
they already have a belly full that'll last them for a few days. So
Mhm.
we've seen that many times where they'll have a maintenance guy on staff that's not been very good, doesn't know much about bats, and maybe they'll try to do the right thing, but they'll wait till dark and then just shoot spray foam in there. And
Oh my God.
oftentimes bats will leave later and will be alerted to the problem, and we'll see bats stuck in the spray foam as it hardens as they try to escape the roost. And we know that they're sometimes still alive, usually dead by the time we get there. And there's hundreds or thousands of bats in the wall. And we have to remove
Yeah.
all the foam and allow the bats that are in there to fly out and
Hmm.
then do a proper exclusion. So we wanted to avoid that at all
Hmm.
costs in this instance and in every instance from now on.
Right.
So yeah, that's me talking, being real long-winded about a pretty simple project.
But
But
it's not simple. I mean, just
No.
the amount of expertise. I mean, I can talk about exclusion to folks and everything, but I don't, for example, I don't go out and do exclusion. I'll go out and capture bats or things like that. I have to refer
Mhm.
elsewhere.
mhm,
And you guys go out and you do this.
Yeah. And that was,
And
yeah, and that was something that's a lucky thing that we um have learned from other excellent bat excluders that we've met over the years.
Mhm.
The best way to do it, and of course Lee with his building
Right.
expertise and his knowledge of structures inside and out, is able to do a job that many pest companies
Yep.
wouldn't know how to do or
Hmm.
want to do.
Right.
And the other thing about an exclusion, even a proper exclusion, which is the way to go, do it correctly so that the bats are able to fly out over several nights or a couple of weeks. But even that, done beautifully, is habitat loss.
It is.
And so it's not ideal. We prefer that when at all possible, that people allow the bats to stay. But this is one of the cases where that was absolutely not an option, and we wouldn't have even recommended it,
Oh, right. Right. It
given
was
the
impossible.
circumstance.
Yeah. That's
So,
circumstance. Yeah.
often when we talk about exclusions, we recommend that people maybe put up a bat house or two or
Oh, sure.
three
Right.
as far in advance as possible before the exclusion, so that bats might be aware of it, having flown out and seen them over
And
weeks or
seen it.
months,
Hmm.
and might use that as an alternate roost.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
this was not a case where that was something we would have been able to recommend, of course.
Oh,
we could
exactly.
recommend it till we turn
We,
blue, but
yeah,
we're not going to do it.
yeah, that was
Right.
that was
Yeah.
not going to happen.
Yeah.
Right.
But
Right.
all in all, we were very pleased with their response. And this
Mhm.
this is also, I have to mention, a good collaboration between
Hmm.
Austin Bat Refuge and our friends up north at Bat World. We
Yes.
often work together, um, spreading information about these types of issues, and even sometimes just helping each other find transport for a bat to be brought
Sure.
either to them or to us.
Mhm.
So that's very important to us to be able to collaborate with other bat rehabilitators and have good relationships with them.
And it's amazing. A lot of people get into rehabilitation because they want to just work with animals. But
Yeah,
it's
right.
really
Right.
it's a people thing, right?
It very much
Um,
is.
yeah, those
Yeah,
relationships just help so much with helping the bats that you want to help, and
absolutely.
collaborations with, places like Walmart or other things to help those particular
Hmm.
bats,
Absolutely.
and help future things, and that's
Hmm.
how we do it. And environmental education, it's the long game, and those relationships
Yeah.
built, can really help you in the long term as well. So
Yeah. Yes.
phenomenal story, phenomenal story.
Yeah, I think
So
just giving people the opportunity to be bat heroes, yeah, people are going to take that opportunity 9 times out of 10 and just go,
Mhm.
yeah, heck yeah, we want to do the right thing. We want to get all the credit for being bat heroes. And so
I
that
think so.
I think
Hmm.
I like that strategy of
Yeah.
just not
I do too.
not vilifying them for not doing
Mm-hmm.
anything for years, but
Hmm.
praise them for doing the right thing whenever they
Doing the
get
right thing.
around to doing it.
So let's talk briefly, but thank you for those stories and everything. It's just wonderful. All the different parts that you're doing outside of wildlife rehabilitation, the direct animal care, right? And it's
Hmm.
all incredibly important. But let's talk about this radar project you are working on.
Radar. Oh,
Let's.
the radar. Well,
Yeah.
it's becoming a project. So but
Okay.
After
it's
what,
been
14 years?
yeah. This is we since we were hanging around with a bunch of scientists or in the early days
Mm-hmm.
when Dianne first worked at BCI, we got to know quite a lot of them. And we heard there was an ESA conference in town, the Environmental Science Association, I believe is the acronym, but they were meeting in Austin and they had one of the modules, the education modules, was aeroecology,
Mm.
and it was championed by a guy named Tom Coons from Boston University, and he's
Mm-hmm.
a wonderful, charming guy that everybody loved dearly. But he was really enthusiastic about everything he took on, and he put together this education module and invited lots of different speakers. And it was I went and attended and snuck into the conference. I couldn't afford the $2,000 to attend, but I managed to get
Sure.
into
Yeah.
the
Mm-hmm.
one thing that interested me the most, and it was really inspirational. I heard a lot of people talking about uh, just seeing bats moving on radar and seeing how they interact with the the insects that are pushed along by different uh, weather fronts is
Mm-hmm.
just fascinating. I think it was the same feeling I got when I first went to Florida and saw the amberjacks pitting the mullet up against the jetty and the mullet jumping onto the jetty to escape the amberjacks. It felt like the
Wow.
same kind
Mm-hmm.
of visceral, oh my God moment.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's really amazing to see bats emerging from their roosts all over the central Texas area and actually watching them going toward these weather fronts and uh, going catching the wave. They kind of fly
Sure.
like they're much like the skimboarders on the California beach, where they'll start on the beach
Oh,
and then
right.
race down and throw their board on the water and jump on their board and go out and catch a wave. They'll go
Mm-hmm.
out and then
Mm-hmm.
turn and like surf that wave back to shore. It feels like the bats are doing the same thing. You could see them
Sure.
going toward the weather fronts, catching that wave, getting in the curl, and just riding that curl and just eating bugs that are being born on the front edge of this weather
Sure.
front.
Oh,
It just
wow.
looks so cool. Your imagination just goes with them. You feel like you're up there flying with them.
Wow.
It's really fun to watch. So that was the inspiration for me to just start doing it. And I was lucky enough to be able to contact a few people that kind of guided me toward how to get started with it. Philip
Sure.
Chilson at the University of Oklahoma was very helpful. But I didn't have much of a background and I was kind of just doing whatever um, documenting whatever I could, and wherever my
Sure.
interest, uh, wherever my mind went, I just
Mm-hmm.
tried to document everything I saw. So now it's kind of a process of um, going back and looking at all this historical data that we've been collecting for 12 or 14 years now, and just saying, well, can we make anything real out of some of those wild ass guesses that we were making back in 2010?
Sure.
You have some volunteers now that are doing a lot more of the hard mathematics behind the data I was
Mm-hmm.
collecting to try to get a
Mm-hmm.
good baseline for a lot of these roosts that we've been watching for over a decade. So
Mm-hmm.
I see one of our volunteers out here right now who's sorting mealworms right now, but she's so interested in this project,
Sure.
and I know she can't wait to talk to me about it, because she's been doing a deep dive into the math, which is way over my head,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm real excited to have her help with this. But I did take some training about 6 years ago at the University of Oklahoma Severe Storms Lab. It's
Oh,
actually the
okay.
national NOAA's Severe Storm Lab,
Okay.
which is located at the University of Oklahoma. And it was wonderful. It was radar ecology to 2019, Rad Arrow 19,
Mm-hmm.
and brilliant people with just sharing everything they knew. And we were able to learn how to put a hard number on all the radar data we've been seeing for the last six
Wow.
years now, we've had actual hard numbers of the maximum number of bats leaving the bridge on a given night. So we don't have the capacity to count every single bat,
Sure.
but what we're doing is what we corresponds most closely to the user experience. We want to see how many bats are in the sky
Mm-hmm.
in a snapshot, the maximum snapshot, the largest snapshot of bats in the sky every night. And so that basically is the wow factor. If you're a tourist at Congress Avenue Bridge, did they all come out at once? Did they just knock your socks off, or did they just dribble out all night? And
Mm-hmm.
so we've been quantifying that every night for 6 years, so we can say basically, you know, what the emergencies were for the last 6 years. We can add them all up. We can average them. We can say how many the maximum were for every month every of the last 6 years. So
Mm-hmm.
if we have an excellent baseline now going
Mm-hmm.
forward, because there's going to be lots of changes around the bridge in the near future. There's going to be lots more skyscrapers built in the
Right.
immediate vicinity of the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be important to have that baseline for
Mm-hmm.
us to be able to uh, to mitigate any
Right.
kind of problems, or
Right.
just to have a case study for other similar routes in the future.
Right.
So
The
it's been
amount of
fascinating
data
for us.
is so important. Oh my gosh. What a
Yeah,
great
and it feels
project.
good
And
to
yeah.
know, and it really does. What the reason I do it is because I'm generally curious. Every morning I just wake up and go, I wonder what the bats did last night. And that's really what
Exactly.
led me to this.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that it really does inform our rehab work too. So we need to know, like, when are the bats flying? Is this a good night to release bats?
Right.
Or are they all staying in the roost for one reason or another?
Right.
And do we see bird migrations taking place? You know, back before there were things such as birdcast, we used to be able
Right.
to, um, we want to know, have the grackles returned to town? Have the snowbirds returned? Has the
Mm-hmm.
predator population doubled in the
Sure.
last couple of weeks? And
Mm-hmm.
we can see those bird migrations on radar too. So it's pretty fascinating. It's interesting. But it's also informative. And the other part of that is that we manage a website that people use to determine when to show up for bat tourism. So they can plan
Oh.
their vacations, they can see what the best time of year would be to come see the bats. If they're already here, they can determine whether it's a good night to show up, and if so, what time they should come to prevent their kids from acting out because they're getting bored waiting for the bats, or so they don't have to pay too much money in parking, to the land sharks, the
Sure.
the awful parking companies that just gouge the tourists on a nightly
But of
basis.
course they do. Of
We'd
course.
love to be able to put them out of business if we could, but um, we just want to make sure people know that they do have to pay, but if you
Right.
paid on this short window, you can pay for this small window and see bats and
Right.
not have to wait too long and have your parking expire and get $100 ticket a month later in the
Right.
mail.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
yeah, so
What is
those
that
are,
website, by the way? The
it is
website you
austinbatrefuge.org, and
All
it's
right.
our Congress Avenue Bridge page.
Okay.
So we've been maintaining that service for 10 years, over a decade in Austin, for people that are just curious about, well, what the bats are doing and when the bats are
Yep.
flying. So we don't have any kind of advertising for it. We have a couple of links from the city of Austin, one of the big uh, Chamber of Commerce pages, but they don't even
Mm-hmm.
mention us. They just say, if you want to know what time the bats are flying, click this link. They don't mention us by name, but lots of people click it. So we get a
Yeah.
good, oh, quite a bit of traffic. So I'd
Yeah.
say probably, I think it's like 4,000 people a month, something like that.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's amazing.
But
And
yeah, so we,
I know that we've neglected this. So, for everybody that's listening, when we're talking about this radar project, when we're talking about the bridge, when I mentioned, in my intro, I've mentioned, Bracken Cave in San Antonio. What species of bat are we talking about?
ah, yes,
Ah,
good question.
that's an
So
excellent question. We
here,
are talking about,
here in Austin, we have 8 or 9 local species that we
that's
see
true.
on a regular basis.
That's true.
The
But,
only one that shows up on radar is the Mexican free-tailed bats.
or the also known as Brazilian free-tailed bats.
Oh,
That's the
yes.
exact same species. The moniker Mexican is kind of a regional name
Sure.
because
Okay.
most of our Central Texas free-tails migrate to Mexico in the fall.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That same species will be called Brazilian free-tail out in Carlsbad Cavern in New
Right.
Mexico. We don't use Brazilian free-tail, even though it might be we don't want to think people, we don't want people to think that they migrate all the way to Mexico, to
To
Brazil every
Brazil.
winter. Excuse
Mm-hmm.
me. The purple martins do migrate to Argentina, so
Mhm.
they are also showed up on radar. So it would be easy for people here to get confused and say,
Mhm.
Brazil
oh,
was
they're
where
free-tails.
where the free-tailed bats were first discovered and named
Mm-hmm.
First described by
and
Okay.
science.
described
Okay.
by science, right?
Yeah.
And they certainly are free-tails in
Mm-hmm.
Brazil,
And
but
they're
ours
common
don't
throughout
migrate that far.
Right.
they're
Right.
common throughout the Americas.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So the bridges where these Mexican free-tailed bats roost are a type of incubator for
Right.
mother free-tails to have their pups. Free-tail bats have one baby called a pup once a year.
Mm-hmm.
They started moving into Congress Avenue Bridge in the 80s when they did some work on the bridge to widen it. And they created these expansion joint crevices
Right.
that are made out of concrete and that retain the heat from the sun shining on the concrete all day long. And so it is a wonderful incubator for mother bats to keep their
Right.
babies while they go out
Mm-hmm.
to forage at
We
night.
like to say
Mm-hmm.
it's a solar powered incubator.
That exactly right.
That's
Yeah,
great.
solar powered incubator, and the babies, this one pup is born naked and helpless, and can stay warm in those bridge crevices once mom starts flying out again to forage.
Sure.
She doesn't fly out with her baby attached. She leaves
Right.
the pup in
Okay.
the bridge, and it has to be warm
Mm-hmm.
and safe for the pups. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where all of this started here in Austin in the 80s when
Wow.
Congress Avenue Bridge became occupied by bats and eventually Austin became Bat City, but it took a while for people
Right.
to have a good attitude about those
Yeah.
bats.
To embrace it. To embrace it. And of course,
Exactly.
added that it brings in tourist dollars, so that helps a little bit.
There you go.
With
Yeah,
that, right?
exactly.
But it's not only
Yeah.
Congress Avenue Bridge, right, that has some colonies, right? There's other bridges.
Many
Um,
other bridges, right? And in fact, we can see emergences from some of those bridges on the
Oh,
radar.
we see lots of bridges on radar.
Yeah.
We have
Mhm.
we have all the roost calculations separated by caves and by bridges. And
Mhm.
Okay.
we want to compare to see when they move from the caves. Do they have seasonal migratory patterns between the caves and the bridges?
Mm-hmm.
And we'll be able to discern that once we take the deep dive into all this data. But we see them all the time up and down I-35. Many of the bridges up and down I-35 have colonies in them. They're doing
Mm-hmm.
a project right now, the
Mhm.
Capital Expressway expansion. There's a Capital Expressway North expansion and a Capital Expressway South, and all of them involve bat roosts in bridges. They're taking the bridges apart and rebuilding them. And TxDOT, the Texas Department of Transportation, is doing a great job um, safeguarding the bats in those bridges. They're really they have lots of bat biologists on staff, and they're to take it very seriously. And
Mhm.
if we ever express any concern about a certain roost, they will recommend they want to meet on site immediately. They'll have
That's
10
amazing.
biologists where they're ready to talk about it with their hard hats and their steel-toed boots, and they take it very seriously.
That's so good to hear, too. That's another great story. I want to thank Dianne Odegard and Lee Mackenzie from Austin Bat Refuge for coming on the podcast and talking bats. It has been an amazing conversation, and I really, really, really appreciate it. Wildlife Rehabilitation from Rescue to Release is a production of Partners for Wildlife, working hand in hand with wildlife rehabilitators and the veterinarians to support them to improve the welfare of orphaned, ill, and injured wildlife. Our executive producer is me, Gail Buell. I'm the Partnership Coordinator for Partners for Wildlife with the Raptor Center at the University of Minnesota College of Veterinary Medicine. Our producer is Reese Rosado.